You want to add anything?
No, he said he's good.
He's good. He's good to go. He's good to go. Awesome. Well, guys, we are in for a treat tonight. I'm super fired up to have this guest on. Look, we've been running a play, and this play has come from a hierarchy. I mean, it's really derived from the Ian Pruckner hierarchy. Let's be real here. And Andy Onstead has taken it and run with it, and it's called Wildfire. The way he's built it, and Ian's RVPs have really put this thing together, and they've got it down to a system that cannot be stopped. It is steamrolling, and it is moving fast and furious. And we saw it, and we realized, hey, let's not try to compete with what we were doing before. Let's see what they're doing. Let's use it and utilize it and catch up and make things happen. And the RVP that's here tonight, near-term $200,000 earner, I think he's going over in the next couple months. He's running 50 by 50 base shop. I think he's 3 years in the business, I believe he had told me. And he is rocking and rolling. And he's done it all basically through a screen, right? He's done it all through social media, Zoom, not much face-to-face, really making things happen and crushing it. So we are about to get a master class on how to build a business using Zoom and social media. And I'm so excited to hear from the great Daniel Trombly. Daniel, what's up, man?
What's going on, Zach?
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, man.
Awesome. Well, we're fired up to have you. Let it rip, bud. You got till 8:30 to just feed us everything you got, and we are going to be here taking notes. And maybe if there's a little time at the end, we could do a little quick Q&A.
Sounds good, man. Well, first and foremost, guys, it's such an honor to be on here. When John and Zachary shouted out to me and asked me if I wanted to speak tonight, I was elated. And, I hope that what I'm going to bring to you guys tonight is going to give you guys some value. And, I think you'll be able to take some action steps after this and get your guys' businesses off to a fast start here in the new month. So I'd love to first kind of start by giving you guys a little bit of my story, kind of how, my wife and I started. And, who knows, maybe this part of it will also kind of inspire you guys. So my wife and I have been in business now going on 3.5 years. We started back in the beginning of 2020. And when I first started doing this business, guys, outside of this, I was actually working just about 110 hours a week between 3 separate jobs. I was a security officer at a hospital. I was doing that 40 hours a week during the midnight shift. During the day shift, I was a personal trainer. I was doing that another 50 to 60 hours a week. That was kind of like my field of expertise. That was my passion. I was working part-time for a bodybuilding supplement company. And believe it or not, on top of all of that, I was also a full-time student at a university here in Michigan, getting my degree in exercise sports science medicine. So I was just a little busy, to say the least. And, I did that schedule for roughly 4.5, almost 5 years in total. 10 out of 10 would never recommend it to anybody. I mean, it was incredibly brutal, but, at the same token, I don't regret a single minute of it. Looking back, I made a ton of, connections, learned a lot of lessons. I mean, man, that season of my life truly prepared me for where I'm at today as a business owner. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned during that, period of my life is that when you are working a job and you're trading your time for money, whether it's an hourly job or a salary job, is that you're ultimately, that time and that money is always connected, right? They're linear to each other. In the position that I was in, ultimately, I could not work more hours physically to make more money. And I got into a position where I realized to myself, man, like, this is just not sustainable long-term. And I kind of had to take a seat back and think to myself, well, what can I do that's going to change that I can ultimately, because I knew if I didn't make some drastic changes right now, my life was going to stay exactly the same. And I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, mind you, I was making $120,000 a year. I was comfortable in my position. I mean, I was only 25 years old. But again, I met my wife about 4.5 years into that craziness. And she showed me real quick that that was definitely not going to be conducive for raising a family and being a present husband, present father. So, the second I kind of stepped back and kind of opened my eyes to the possibility of doing something different, that's when I stumbled into this incredible opportunity, which, ironically enough, was through a Facebook post. It was actually an acquaintance of mine, more so than not. He was tagged in a post. It was basically his fast start bonus. And on there, it said that he had made $2,200 working 8 hours. And hey, it caught my interest. I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm making pretty decent money, but definitely not like that. And I reached out to him, and back then it was still in person. So I haven't built my whole business necessarily on the Zoom screen, but for the first couple months, it was still, in the field. And we meet up at the office, and he's in training. So he'd only been in the business for a couple months. He introduces me to his vice president, which some of you guys might know him. He's a senior national sales director. His name is John Cooper. And he starts selling me the dream. He starts telling me about his life and what he's got going on and the opportunity to build a business, to build passive and residual income. And I was sold from day one. I remember like yesterday, my wife and I, she was actually on the call with me, and we look at each other about halfway through and we're like, we're doing this, right? Like, this is not negotiable. We're making this happen. And, I started doing this, obviously not full-time. It wasn't part-time. It was as spare time as it gets. Like my first month as a licensed agent, I worked like maybe 9 hours all month. And that was like on top of everything else that I was doing. But working those 9 hours, I made $4,600. And on top of that $4,600, my wife and I had actually won an incentive that Ian was doing to the Bahamas trip back in 2020. And I'll tell you guys right now, that trip changed everything for us. And believe it or not, it wasn't necessarily the vacation aspect that did it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Bahamas is pretty incredible, but it was the people. It was the environment, being able to surround ourselves with a group of people who were just extremely positive, motivated, goal-oriented, very successful entrepreneurs, people who are focused on creating generational wealth and family legacies. And to see their heart posture for helping people, it captivated me. I remember pulling my wife to the side, like doing one of these, like, honey, I got to put more time towards this thing. And honestly, I felt like an idiot for not taking it seriously enough for what it was up until this point. And we came home from that trip. This was like, I don't know, 3 months later afterwards, I ended up quitting all 3 of my jobs pretty much simultaneously. I gave up my guaranteed 6-figure income, and we started to pursue this full time. Now, I want to rewind for a second, because about 2 months before we went on that trip, I had a very impactful thing happen in my business. And, I'm thinking to myself, if that wouldn't have happened, I wonder what my career would have looked like. Now, I guarantee you I'd still be here, but I don't know if I would have had the level of success that I had and the level of conviction that I have for this business. You see, for those of you guys who are on this call that are brand new, that maybe this is their first training ever, who maybe haven't gotten into the field yet, this is something that really has shaped my business and my career here. The first ever training appointment that my wife went on, brand stinking new, didn't even know anything about anything in this business, was with her parents. Now, from the outside looking in, they looked to be all set. They had life insurance. My father-in-law had 3 policies on himself. My mother-in-law had 1 on her. He had 1 on each of the 4 kids. And, I had thought personally, like, hey, they're all set. Like, this conversation is not going to go anywhere. It's simply just going to be, hey, this is what we're doing, referrals, that kind of stuff. And we started looking into what he had, and honestly, guys, I was blown away. So my father-in-law, just to give you a little background, he was in the union for 28 years. He was a carpenter here in Michigan, and the 3 life insurance policies that he had were, 1 was a group life insurance policy offered through his employer. The second one was a $280,000 accidental death and dismemberment policy, and the third was a $12,000 whole life policy. Mind you, he was under the impression that he had, $300,000 of insurance, when that just wasn't the case. Now, we stepped in, we got him protected with a Primerica policy, more coverage. It was cheaper. We were able to definitely get him a much better policy overall. And less than 4.5 months later, he came home from work, long hot day in the sun. He fell in the driveway and hit his head on the cement. Just a freak accident. Literally spoke with him 5 minutes before it happened. And that policy that he had through his work, through the union, they denied the claim. They told us because he was not at work or doing anything work related, they weren't legally obligated to pay that claim. That other accidental death and dismemberment policy ultimately had a clause in there that required him to die on public transportation. And the whole life policy had ultimately lapsed because he had borrowed against it some odd years ago. And the one policy that paid out was the Primerica policy that we had just set up for him several months before. You see, that was the first death claim that my wife and I ever paid out into this business. And I'll tell you guys right now, watching that unfold in front of me, especially as a new agent, not really knowing a ton about this industry, that was extremely powerful for us. I mean, honestly, that's a big part of what ultimately lit that fire in me to want to, build a massive business here, to have impact, to get out there and get after it. Now, going back to kind of where I was with our story, after we decided to go full time, things started to take off pretty quickly. I was at a point where I was making between $6,000 and $7,000 a month part time, and I was ready to make that leap. And our first month, we made a little over 12,000. Second month, 15. Third month, 20. We finished our first full year in the business, just a little over $160,000 in income, and it's been a game changer ever since then. About 6 months after we were gone full time, we were promoted out as vice presidents, which was incredible. 2 months after that, we actually promoted out our first vice president, which ultimately went to be our replacement, which I'm not sure how you guys do replacement, might be a little bit different, but that was incredible, kind of helping him to start his business and get out there. And ever since then, guys, we've been really focused on building distribution. My job as a vice president is very simple. It's to promote out other vice presidents, right? It's to take people into this business and show them how to build their own business and build distribution and learn how we can help families, to the best of our ability. And what I want to kind of go over with you guys today is ultimately what, we've been utilizing as an organization, for years, pretty much since I've been in the business, but we've honed it over the past couple of years to where now it is firing on all cylinders. And ultimately, this is what, our organization is doing from day in and day out to produce the activity that we have today. So what I want to kind of do with you guys today is kind of like a master class / social media training / activity builder type, like, what am I doing to run the numbers that we're doing right now? And I'm hoping that we do have some time at the end, because I'd be more than happy to answer questions for y'all, Zach. And I think we will, based on the time that I have left and based on this presentation. So let me pull this up here, guys, and we will get this started here. So I titled this Running the Play because that's exactly what it is, guys, right? We are running the play, and that's pretty much it. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing, that you guys may have never heard before, but seeing it laid out like I'm going to lay it out tonight, maybe some of you guys will see it in a different light, and a lot of you guys will be able to implement this into your business. Now, before I get to like what it is that we're doing, there's some ground rules and things that I want to lay out first, because utilizing social media is a skill set. It's something that there's things that are out there that you have to understand first before you start just going blasting posts and doing all that stuff, and to try to market yourself. So the first question that I want everybody on this call to ask themselves is, why is it important to bring new business partners on in the first place, right? Because if you don't know why you're building a business or why we're trying to build distribution, it's not really going to click. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense, right? I think the easiest explanation is to expand your business, right? Ultimately reaching markets that you couldn't really reach otherwise. Right now I have a big base over in Arkansas. Never even been to Arkansas in my entire life, mind you. Last month, that leg did 26,000 in premium and 27 recruits. Almost half of the production in our base shop was done with one of our legs through one individual that I met on a Facebook job group that I recruited into my business here in Michigan. So that right there is a prime example of why we bring on business partners, right? My job and my goal ultimately, not only to build a business, but I want to make Primerica a household name, right? I want to reach the masses. And I'll tell you right now, you can't do that on your own. There's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much things that you can do personally. So if you're not, duplicating yourself and building that distribution, you're going to be capped as far as how many people you can help and the impact that you can have, and not only your community, but communities all across the country. Now, here's the second question I want you guys to ask yourself. What do people see when they look you up on social media, right? This is extremely important, guys. When they look you up, do they see professionalism? Do they see credibility? Do they see humility? Do they see a real person? Or are they seeing someone who's just posting an opportunity post, every other day, right? Are you, cultivating your social media to be a brand, an extension of you? I think that's one thing that my wife and I have definitely honed in on is the look of what we're going for and what we're trying to, represent. The biggest thing, when people look at your profile, they can tell within 30 seconds or a minute if you're someone that they want to work with. So understanding what they're looking for and kind of making sure that your profile looks that way is super important. So here's a little idea of what my Facebook, just to kind of start with one of the social medias, my Facebook looks like. Now, I will say this, I primarily use Facebook as my prime source for social media. And I think it has a lot to do with just the overall demographic that uses Facebook, more so than like Instagram or Snapchat or that other stuff. I've had so much more success with Facebook than I have with anything else. Like when I first started in the business, I had like 30,000 followers on my Instagram. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the algorithms. I don't know if it's the way that people read the post or just because it's a different platform, but I could post a post on Facebook and post one on Instagram and I would get 10 times more responses on Facebook. And I think it has a lot to do as well with, when you post a post, people can see the comments and they can read the comments and interact with the post. Whereas on Instagram, it's a little bit different. Now, looking at my profile here, just a screenshot. My profile picture, I have a professional photo of my wife and I in the background. That's the Ford mansion here in Michigan. And I'm a big car guy. So I have my car on there. People that know me know that that's something that I would post on there. I help people fire their boss. That's my bio, right? That right there has gotten a lot of people thinking what does this guy even do for work? A lot of times people reach out to me like, hey man, I got to ask, what does this even mean? Right. I have some information as far as just basic stuff where I went to school, things like that. So it's pretty basic, but again, it catches people's attention enough to be intrigued, to kind of want to know more, if you will. Another thing that I do as well that kind of helps to create that social media branding is I do reels and, more so informational clips, if you will. I also do stuff on TikTok and stuff. And it's not me prospecting necessarily, or it's not me saying, oh, you should come do this business. I'm just giving out information. I want people to learn. I want people to understand this stuff, especially in this industry when there's, unfortunately so much corruption. I want people to have a voice that they can listen to, that they know they can trust. And ultimately, this is what's been helping me establish some form of social media presence. I had a recruiting call that I did with someone in Florida, and she's like, you look so familiar. And she's like, do you do Facebook videos or this and that? I was like, yeah. She's like, no way, I saw you. And I just thought it was the craziest thing because we have no connection at all in any different way, in any way. She just happened to see my video. So I'm like, hey, that's good. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm trying to put these out there. Another thing too is branding photos. I mean, I'm not telling y'all to go out and pay a professional photographer to, take some pictures of you. The new cameras that we have nowadays on the iPhones and the Android guys, they're incredible. I mean, shoot, you go put up a backstop and put a little nice, blazer on or something, take some photos. I mean, those stuff, they make a big difference. They even have an app. And if you know the app that I'm talking about, you can post it in the chat, but there's an app out there that literally you take a photo of yourself, upload it, and the AI will put a professional headshot. I think it starts with an M or something like that. But I've been seeing those a lot lately, but even something as small as that right there is going to make a big difference when people are coming to your page from seeing one of your posts. Again, these types of posts are things that we use, and I'm going to talk a little bit about these here in a couple minutes, but we use Canva. This presentation that I'm doing right now is through Canva. My wife, she's kind of the mastermind behind these things, but, we take our professional photos and she, kind of creates these posts that look extremely professional. I mean, you take a look at this, and I mean, that one all the way to the right, I think I like that one the most. It's kind of transparent. It kind of looks pretty cool, but you go on Canva and it's free, and you go in there and you pick whatever post you want. You can just type in hiring post or something like that, whatever the thing is, and you can pull these things up and there you go. I have, some of the credibility stuff from our company, Fortune 1000, Best Employers for Women, and all those little things, they come together to create traction into your business, especially when people see them. So what does establishing a social media presence and a brand create for your business, right? This is, what I'm kind of getting to here, and we're going to go more into the activity side of things, but credibility with your online prospects, right? When people go to my page, it's essentially instant credibility because they see the professional post, they see my lifestyle, they see, who I am, they see the way that I kind of structure my social media, right? It's all extremely intentional. I do it for a reason, right? It creates fluidity through your pages. If you have multiple streams of kind of things that you use, like I said, I use TikTok, I use Facebook, I use Instagram, and those are the main ones if you have Twitter or something like that. But if you look at all my profiles together, you can see that I'm going for something here, right? My job is ultimately to help families become financially independent. And you can see that through all three of my profiles, right? It's to reach a wider audience. The more credible that you can become, the wider audience that is going to, want to listen to the things that you have to say. Improve customer loyalty, right? I have a lot of my clients today that have followed me on social media because they not only want to keep in touch with us, but they also want to kind of see, what we're doing with our business. And if you have someone who is following your lifestyle and is kind of following on social media, believe it or not, they're probably going to stick around with you a lot longer because they can relate to you as a person and they know you as a person. You're not just their person who signed them up for life insurance or did a Roth IRA, 5 years ago. They kind of feel involved to a degree. And again, increased website traffic. You see, my social medias are a funnel. They are a funnel to get somebody in front of me on a screen. That is the primary resource. And the more traffic you can get to your social media, the more people ultimately you're going to have to sit down with and have a conversation with, to tell them about what we do for families and to tell them about the opportunity that we have to offer here. So let's talk about actual generation of setting up appointments, right? The activity side of things, the things that, we all want to know, the how-tos. Now, obviously, as you guys know, there's a lot of ways that you can, generate personal and team recruiting appointments. We can't forget about in-person prospecting, right? That's still a thing. I don't know, for those of you who actually leave your house, unlike I do, you can run into people and you can have conversations and you can actually set up appointments. It's actually pretty cool. I used to do it once in a blue moon, but in-person prospecting is always going to be a go-to. Hot and warm markets for sure. If you guys are still in your first 30 days, some of the stuff that I'm going to go over today, I maybe wouldn't recommend you to do it just yet because you still have access to your hot and warm market and you want to definitely utilize that, right? Your hot and warm market always is going to be your first stop when it comes to helping to, start your business up and get people to understand what you're doing. So if you're, again, brand new, that's going to be where you want to start. Opportunity posts on Facebook, where we're going to spend some time going over that today. That's been the play that we're running that is working incredibly well. Facebook job groups, that is something that my wife and I have used to generate, personal recruiting activity. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And then lastly, obviously recruiting across the kitchen table. Recruiting across the kitchen table is probably one of the ones on here that you're going to probably get the highest quality of person and the most in-market person, because that's typically who you're sitting down with when you're running that KT. Not to mention, they have a much better idea of what it is that we're doing because they just obviously became a client or saw value in what we did through the presentation that we've done. So first thing I want to go over, guys, is the opportunity post. Now, this is the same post if you were to post it yourself or if you were to have one of your new agents post it. And I've gone through many different posts, and out of all the posts that we've had, this is the one that generates the most traction. Again, it's the verbiage, it's the wording, it's the way that it's put together. And a lot of times we don't post it with any background, we don't post it with anything else. It's simply just this text right here. The company I work with is looking for some people to work from home in the finance space, anywhere in the country, all online, paid training and bonuses as well. Who's interested? I'd be glad to connect you. This post, I would take a screenshot of it if you haven't already. This post works phenomenally well. Now, I'm going to show you guys in a minute here what we do after the post. I'll get to that in a second. But the second thing that we do to generate traction is going to be Facebook job groups. Now, this is more for like a personal activity type thing. The other one is for like, personal as well as team. But this right here, guys, is something that my wife and I has really helped us to continue to direct recruit. Because here's the thing. We have, we're already at 30 recruits for the month, this month already, and we're only, or 25, I think. And we're on pace to do double what we did last month because of the activity that we had last month. Now, it's great to have that team activity, but you gotta stay personal because eventually your spread on your income is gonna get so narrow because you're building only in one leg if you're diving too deep down. So this is something that you're always going to want to implement as one of your 5 to stay alive, as one of your resources to continue generating that personal activity. It's so simple. You literally go onto Facebook, you type in job groups, and my wife, she's again kind of the mastermind behind this, but she'll go into pretty much, let's say she picks a state like Texas, she'll go and post in like 30 different cities in Texas, and not just the main ones with like 50,000 people, but the small outer city posts. And then maybe 20 of them or 30 of them, maybe half will get accepted and will actually go through. But even if, 10 of them go through, the activity that we'll get on those could fill up our whole week just from one state. Now, mind you, if you took, an hour or two to just post in a couple different states and do that, my wife, literally, we have to like stop because sometimes we have so much activity coming in. It's like, okay, hold on, let's wait for a couple days and then we'll post it again, because we were trying to stay as consistent as we could and do it every day to see how far we could get, but it got too crazy. So these posts can generate a lot. And I'm going to show you exactly what we post here in a second, but these can generate a lot of activity on the personal side of things. And then obviously all you need is one to get into the business to put their post out there. And all of a sudden you're off to the races. So here's the post that we do on the Facebook job group. So I have the photo that I made. I have the professional kind of picture, and then I have the text. So the text itself is, my office is offering free training in insurance and finances to anyone interested in working with us. You can work from home or in an office. We help you to get licensed through the state. We provide training, mentors, and study tools, as well as training bonus money. This opportunity can definitely help you make some extra income. You must pass a background check. That's what we post. And we've been pretty much sticking to that because it works so well. Now, this post over here is similar to the ones I kind of showed you guys earlier. It has kind of its own layout. It's got the different credibility as far as the company goes. It's got a professional photo. It has a couple more outlines as far as what we're looking for. Must be 18 years old, must pass a background check. And it does have my phone number in there. So if you want to put your phone number out there, be careful. You'll get a lot of phone calls. I probably have like 30 missed calls on my phone that I need to get back to. But again, we're looking to generate activity. We're looking to get as much activity as we possibly can, because you swing the bat enough times, you're going to hit some home runs. And then if you're working with other agents, you can delegate, you can hand those appointments out. I give away probably 10, 15 appointments a week. I mean, shoot, last month, I probably would have closed about 15 directs, except for I gave probably 7 or 8 of them out to other people on my team so that they can run them, just because we were so busy with so many appointments. So here is some kind of like the next steps, okay? So this, posting the post, okay, once you've done that, where do we go from there? This is a step-by-step tutorial of how to go from post to appointment set. So once we post the post, there's going to be some people commenting on there. Now, whether they say, I'm interested, what is this? Tell me more, can I get more information? And what's the name of the company? Anything, doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to respond to them by saying, sending you a DM. That's it. I'm not going to answer their question in the comments. I'm going to say, sending you a DM. Now, what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to direct message them. And this is the message that I say. It's very simple. Let's say, hey, Zach, thanks for commenting on my post. Would love to schedule a Zoom call with you to go over the opportunity and see if we'd be a good fit for you. What day works best for you between Monday or Tuesday? I go straight for the close. I don't, tip-tat around it. I don't say, hey, this was your question. I go right for the close. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, Monday works better for me. Tuesday works better for me. And then I lock that in. Now, if they do ask questions, I have responses for pretty much any question that somebody could possibly ask. And I'm going to go over those here as well. So let's say they do ask a question. Let's say they say, well, can I get more information on what this is? I say, yeah, for sure. So I'm a regional vice president with the largest financial service company in North America. I own, manage / coach, mentor a general agency. I have a brick and mortar here in Michigan where I live. We help individuals and families with getting out of debt, protecting their incomes with insurance, and investing for retirement, 401k, mutual funds, etc., as well as mortgages through Rocket Mortgage and Quicken. As a lot of people start like I did, part-time, even spare time, as far as what I'm looking for, just someone who's coachable, eager to learn, motivated, and open to try new things. No experience is needed. Any other information will go over on a Zoom call. So that's kind of me giving them the gist of what we do, telling them again what I'm looking for overall, and then I'm following that up with, this is about as much information I'm going to give you. If you want to learn more, we're going to get on a Zoom call. And 9 times out of 10 after that, people are going to respond with, Monday works better for me. Next is, what company do you work with? Now, for me personally, as a vice president, I do have my own S Corp. I have an LLC, so I do answer the question this way. If you work with an organization, you might, do something a little bit differently. But someone says, what company you work with? I say, so my company is Trombly and Associates. I have an office here in Michigan, but I'm partnered with a much larger company known as Primerica Financial Services. We're actually the largest independent financial services company in North America with about 150,000 licensed representatives. That's it. Now, if I'm running behind or double booked, this is something that has really helped us. And I think it's something that you guys could benefit from as well. So if my next week is booked out, generally speaking, I don't like to book out further than 5 or 6 days. And you guys may have experiences as well, but if you book out 6 days and a lot of times they forget about it or whatever the case might be, you want to get people in front of you as fast as possible or give them to somebody else or use this option. So if I do have someone who's interested and I just don't have the time to get in front of them and I don't have anybody else to run the appointment right then and there, I'll send them this. Hey, thanks for commenting on my post. I'd love to schedule a Zoom call with you to get you more information and see if this opportunity would be a good fit for you. Check out this video and let me know more so we can set up a Zoom call and go over more details. Please watch the whole video and let me know when you're done. Now, for me, I use this video. For you guys, I don't know if y'all are using the LFIC videos or things like that, but that's going to be like a business overview. That's going to give them an idea of what we do for families. And 9 times out of 10, which that's what this is. This is a video that Ian made. Basically, it goes over, the 3 main things that we do, helping families get out of debt, protecting their incomes, investments, talks about the rule of 72, goes a little bit into compensation, talks about the licensing fee. So it really kind of gives them a good idea of, kind of the basics. If after that they say I'm in, I'll clear some time to set up an appointment because they're basically ready to go. They're ready to sign an IBA after they watch this video. And that's a good way for me to kind of save my time, save other people's time, and to kind of vet the situation, but still get them on an appointment and still get them started. So that's kind of a last resort type thing. But again, it works extremely well. And because, if they're motivated and if they want to do something like this, that's all you need. Now, that was more so for the personal activity side of things. Now, generating activity in general, it's when you look at it, especially if you've been in business as long as I have, there's so many different things that you can use to do that, right? First one is definitely following up with your existing clients, people that you've sat with before in the past. Your 1,000 persons names list, right? That's something that, I've been working on that since the day I started in this business. A big one for me, especially because I have so much activity coming in, is going through old Facebook posts and messages. I can't tell you how many people, if I look back right now, over the next 3 weeks, I could probably find 200 people that started a conversation and never finished it. Or we got to the point to where they were going to send me their Zoom link and they didn't, or going to send me their email, but they didn't. All I have to do is go through that and just say, hey, were you still interested in learning more about the opportunity? And probably 50% of those are going to be reignited and started back up. And that's going to get me back in the groove of things, right? Friends and family, people posting posts for you. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. And then also sending direct messages is another way that we use to utilize social media. So this right here is going to be the Facebook post that you can have someone else post for you, right? If you're going for a big push or just looking to generate some quick activity, whether it's a family member of yours, maybe it's a previous client, this post works pretty well, right? It's the same post, but just kind of third person. Hey, Facebook friends, throwing this out there. I have a buddy whose business is expanding and looking for people to fill part-time and full-time roles. If you're interested in the opportunity, I'd be glad to link you up. Make sure they tag you in it. Anytime someone comments on there, guess what you do? You comment sending you a DM, you put them into a group chat, and you message them the same exact message. Everything, the system's all the same. You post the post, as soon as it generates any form of interest, you go through the same steps to set up that appointment. Here's the direct message that I send, just so you guys have it in case you wanted to do something like this. This is actually how I found my first vice president, was sending this exact message to him. It's passive. It's not super direct. Now, it does have income in there, so it's not super compliant. So if y'all want to leave that out, you can. But hey, Taylor, hope all is well. I know this is kind of random. If you happen to know anyone who's looking for work, full-time, part-time, working from home in the financial industry, making an extra $1,500 to $3,000 a month, would you be willing to keep me in mind and refer them to me? I'm looking for some motivated people to bring on board. Any introductions you could provide would be greatly appreciated. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people don't respond at all, right? And you're going to get that. But a lot of times people will respond saying, me, I'm interested. Tell me more about this. What is this? Or you'll get someone who says, maybe they say, no, I don't know anybody, but I'll keep my ear to the ground. Well, guess what we're going to do in a scenario like that? We're going to say, hey, can you post this post for me? If you'll keep your ear to the ground, can you post this post right here for me? And then you have them tag you in it, and then boom, it starts the cycle again. It's very, very simple. And then last here, guys, this is the team generation. So when I bring a brand new person into the business on their orientation and the action steps to getting them off to a fast start, I tell them what we're going to do is we're going to post this. And I have them post this. And this right here is where the magic happened, guys. This is where we have been really generating a ton of activity, and how it's just three, they get three, and it's just compounding right now. Brand new person into the business. On their first or second day, I have them post this post, exactly word for word, the one that I went over earlier. Anytime somebody comments on their post, they're sending you a DM, and then they're putting that person and me, their vice president or their mentor or trainer, whoever it is, into a three-way group chat on Facebook Messenger. And they're sending them an introduction. This introduction is very simple. Now, again, you can kind of custom tailor this a little bit. This is just what's worked for us. If you wanted to add like, hey, this is my vice president, or hey, this is my trainer, my hiring manager. I've seen people do it a lot of different ways, but this right here is how we do it. Hey, Daniel, this is Michaela. She's very interested in the opportunities we have to offer, would like to get some details about what it is that we do. Can we get her scheduled for a Zoom call? At that point, the new recruit, their job is done. They did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. Now, me as the vice president, I will step in and I will say, hey, Michaela, hope you're having a blessed day. But yeah, I'd love to set up a Zoom call with you. What time works best for you between tomorrow, Monday, or Tuesday? Again, I go right for it. I'm not asking them a whole bunch of questions about random stuff. I'm saying, what time works best for you, right? You can't cut hair over the phone. Our intentions with this are very clear. We want to get them onto a Zoom call so I can meet them, I can have a conversation with them, and I can offer them the opportunity. Now, again, if they ask questions, guess how I'm going to answer those questions? The same way that I answered those questions earlier. I use the same scripts for all the different messaging platforms that I use, whether it's a single message to me, whether it's a, overall group chat, whether it's, the Facebook job post. It's all the same process. It's just kind of working through it with your people. So last little thing here, guys, and this is, once you understand the system well enough to where you're getting results doing it, you have to stay consistent with it. You see, a big thing that I've seen, and this is something that I'm really big on my agents with, is once you get the momentum going, once you get to the point where you're running so many dang appointments, you don't even know what to do with them, a lot of people let off. They stop posting. They stop going and doing personal production. And then again, all it takes is for you to run into someone whose post doesn't do very well, and then your activities slump down again. Consistency is very important, guys. And I think every one of you guys know that consistency is going to be the biggest thing here. Taking what you've learned and doing it consistently, right? As a part-timer on this call, I would recommend that you set 2 to 3 appointments a day, bare minimum, right? That is your non-negotiable. If you're a full-timer, we're talking about 3 to 5 appointments a day. See, here's the thing, guys. New business partners are ultimately the backbone to your business here. So continue generating that business activity using these things that I went over today to kind of help you guys to grow your business. If y'all want to connect with me, you can look me up on Facebook. I do have my business page, Trombly & Associates. I have my my Instagram, which is Coach Daniel VP, and then my Facebook is just regular Daniel Trombly. But man, it was a pleasure talking with you guys. I hope you guys got some value out of going over this information today. Like I was saying, Zach, if you all want to ask me some questions, I'd be more than happy to do that as well.
Dude, that was absolute fire. Yo, everybody get off mute. Give this guy a round of applause.
Awesome
He
job,
absolutely
Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
much. That was awesome.
I really
Ready to
appreciate
get
it.
started.
Change everything.
Excited.
Very good.
Thank you. Amazing.
Yes.
I mean, dude, I'm not
Awesome.
kidding. First of all,
job,
what's
good
great
job.
is we are on track. Okay. You aren't giving us, any new scripts. We have these scripts, but seeing how you, like someone who's been doing it for as long as you've been doing it and someone who's mastered it and perfected it, for me has helped me completely understand exactly what to go do, like right now, like exactly what to do, actionable steps to go do and get done. Dude, I'm fired up right now. I really appreciate you. Yeah, any questions? I do have one question on my mind because I've been doing it, and I'm wondering if it's like a shortcut that there's a problem to it. So I'm just asking the master. So instead of asking like what day they're available, I send my like schedule link and people will schedule. So what's your take on that real fast, just to see if I'm doing something wrong there, or if you're like, either way works.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I've done it that way before too, because I have a Calendly that I use, and it's just, for whatever reason, I've noticed that some people are just kind of lazy, and you can send them the link and a lot of times it doesn't go anywhere. So for me, it's just kind of, I'm taking control over the conversation. I'm going to make sure it gets set. So send me your email. I'm going to put it in my calendar. We're going to make it happen. And then I send them a post close, which, that just locks it in. But yes, absolutely. I mean, if you're, doing that process and you're sending them the link and they're doing it and setting it up and it's getting locked in, then for sure, man, you run the play.
But you've ran it and you've decided I like this better.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Hey, look, I take coaching. I take coaching, right? Somebody who, if I'm trying to land a plane or not land a plane, or if like the pilot passed away on a plane and I was the guy who was now called in to land the plane, and I called air traffic control, and a pilot of 20 years came in and said, hey, I could help you land this plane. I've done this for 20 years. I know exactly what to do. I'm not going to deviate from the path, right? So if that's what you've done, let's go. I'm down to do that. Appreciate that. Any questions here that any RVPs or regionals, anybody want to throw out real quick, for the next 2 or 3 minutes here?
Yes, I got one. I've been running the play. Hey, Daniel, great stuff. I sat with Ian at the Marco Island trip, and I saw you speak from stage. It was awesome to see you and see your continued success. Thanks for tonight. So with running the play, do you ever call them, or you just always send that text and they pick one of those times? Is it ever appropriate to call them, get their number, or if they don't show, do you call them? That's really part one. And part two is, what do you do about getting the spouse on? You really just set up a second appointment if that's needed. So what are you doing about the spouse? And do you ever call them when they don't show, or just follow up on Messenger? And how do you feel about calling them to set up the appointment?
Those are great questions, Doug. So a couple of things to unpack there. Generally speaking, I am not calling them unless, like you were saying, they are maybe a couple minutes behind. Then I got their phone number, because one of my texts, once I get a date and a time, then I'm locking it in with, send me your email. I'll put it in mine. You put it in your calendar, send me your phone number. So I do have that information if I do need it. And if I have to give them a call, I will. But generally speaking, I'm doing it all through the text. And usually, guys, I'm telling you, it's within 4 or 5 messages, the appointment's set and it's locked in. I mean, probably 1 out of 10 people will ask a question or two, but just the process in which I do it and the way that I respond to their questions, it funnels them very quickly to setting up the appointment. I'm like, perfect, I'll see you then. And it's like 6 messages from top to bottom and the appointment's set. It works that way. So, I haven't had the need necessarily to make the phone calls necessarily. Now, when it comes to like getting a spouse on there, so for example, if I'm sitting down with a stay-at-home wife and, she's got kids and she's married, and we go through the presentation, I'm asking their questions that are in there that are ultimately going to tell me, hey, can I close this appointment with this person, or am I going to need is she going to need her spouse involved in this? Now, every once in a while.
How can I correct my name on this?
Sorry, keep going.
I thought you said Daniel. Once in a while, I get to the end of it, and they'll say, yeah, I want to talk with my spouse. In a scenario like that, I actually have a pre-formulated email that I have that has a lot of really great stuff, content credibility wise, for Primerica. I kind of custom tailored it. I got the company and destiny video in there. I have that little opportunity video in there. I have some Forbes magazine articles, Wall Street Journal articles, that kind of stuff. And it's literally chock full of credible resources that just explain the credibility of our company and who we are. So in a scenario like that, if it's like diehard, like I want to talk to my spouse, obviously they're probably not going to do a very good job of explaining it to their spouse, being that, they don't know the business. So I say, hey, watch this video with your spouse, check out this email. And I set a follow-up from like the next day. And, we usually do pretty good. If I don't send them the email, then sometimes it's obviously hit or miss, because it's basically her explaining things that, might not make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question, Doug?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And then also, do you ever send videos out, like 2, 3 minute, 5 minute educational videos, or you don't really ever do that?
Yeah. So as far as the videos, the ones that I sent is that 18-minute video. That one is just, again, it would be kind of too much of a tease for them to send them a quick little video if I'm just going to go over the information anyways. The video almost replaces a portion of the appointment, to where when I get on, it's basically, I get to know you, you get to know me, you're already interested in the opportunity, I answer questions, close. So that 18-minute video pretty much does my job of explaining the opportunity. And then I kind of condense my time to where I can just go straight for the close and then kind of wrap that up. So yeah, that's a great question, Doug.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yes, actually, I have a question. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much. This was incredible. And thank you for sharing so freely. A lot of times people don't give you the secrets of their sauce. So thank you. I have a question about the actual interview. When you get the prospect on the interview, how long is your interview after you form them? What are you actually using? Are you using a brochure? What are you using in that interview, and about how long is it?
Those are great questions. So forming, obviously that can differ depending on how talkative the person that you're sitting down with. Generally, forming can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Now, once I get through that, basically just to kind of give you an outline of my structure, after I form them, I go into what I like to call, company background. So I talk a little bit about after that, I go into my personal background. Sorry. So I give them my story, kind of a condensed version of what I went over with you guys today, just kind of telling them, how I got started, what inspired me to want to go into business for myself, ultimately what helped me to kind of, be to where I'm at today. After that, then I go over a company background. So just a short, probably 5-minute, probably like a 30-second overview of kind of who we are as a company. And then I go into kind of explaining them the 3 main things of what we do: helping families get out of debt, protecting their incomes with life insurance, and then helping them to invest. And altogether, after form, it's probably about a 20-minute conversation. Usually from start to 30 minutes, we're getting into, okay, let's, fill out an IBA. So that's kind of my process, and it's all just conversation. I don't use a brochure. I don't use a PowerPoint or anything like that. That's kind of how my process works. So great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question for you said earlier you do reels. How do you decide what topic you're going to go into and to give the information without kind of precluding to too much of the business that you would actually give away too much before you actually sit down with some of the people that actually respond to some of your stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric. So nowadays, the resources that we have at our disposal to try to come up with content, I mean, it's unlimited. You literally go to ChatGPT and type in, give me 35 real, things that I can do for finances and money. And literally it'll pop out 35 different reels that you can do. There's other ones that literally it'll literally take your content and it will make videos for you. Like, it's crazy. Now, do I use some of that? Sometimes, if I'm like running out of ideas or whatever, but a lot of what I use is what I teach my clients on a daily basis. I'm touch the fundamentals, like debt stacking or rule of 72, or, talk about compounding interest, or talk about the different types of insurances that are out there and some of the pitfalls with them. Some of the basic stuff is what I do. Now, as far as what you were saying, as far as learning and knowing how much to say and what not to say, right? That's a skill set. That's an art form. And that's something that it takes time to learn, because, I was kind of telling Zach this when we first talked, like those scripts that I've kind of, talked about tonight, those have been honed over the last couple of years. Trust me, there was a bunch of different revisions of those, ones that had more, one that had less, ones that had different informations. And you kind of have to learn what works and what doesn't. There's certain trigger words that people are like, oh my gosh, like, nope, total cutoff. And there's also things that, that just don't make sense necessarily. So I will say that's kind of an intangible that's going to take time and through practice and just doing it over and over again. But, I guess the biggest thing, it depends on what you're doing the reel for. For me, my purpose is, again, to funnel people to have a conversation with me, but also to provide value. So I want to give them enough to where they can learn, but if they want to know more to where they can actually implement it, then they're going to reach out to me, and then we can set up an appointment and go from there. So
quick question. Awesome, Daniel. So for those, so not everybody has a social media presence. What do you say to your team, or how do you coach your team to get them to just go do it. Go do a reel, right? Like just go do it. Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be great, but go do a reel and have some consistency with it, and you'll get better. But what are your thoughts on that? Like just actually just going and doing it, regardless if it's perfectly polished, perfect, Canva, professional pictures. Isn't there more to just going and doing it than having it all perfect?
Yes, absolutely. In a scenario like that, I would tell people to start off with things that they're comfortable with, like telling their story, right? You know your story better than anyone else in the entire world. So go out and tell your story, start with the small things and the things that you are, confident with and and understand. And then as you go through, work your way through those things, that's when you start to get into the things that maybe you don't know, but you're learning specifically to do for the actual reel. But now you have a lot more confidence because you've done enough up to this point. The first ever time I spoke on stage in a Primerica, event, I was telling my story, and that was my only saving grace. Because if I had to say anything else, like about the business, I would have passed out. Like public speaking was my greatest fear in the world coming into this business. The only thing that I had to hold on to was, this is my story, and I know it better than anybody else, and I'm going to go up there and tell it. So that's would be my advice. Stick to what you know and stick to what you're good at for right now until you've built and developed the skill sets to then branch off and dive into other stuff and kind of build a lot of diversity with your videos.
Love it. All right, and
I have a question.
okay, we got Joan and then Andrew, and then we'll let Daniel go. We had him till 8:30. He's already 9 minutes over. Okay. Hopefully your team is not like, where is Daniel? Because I know you guys have a training going on as well. So
yeah, my wife's logged in through my other one, so I'm on there right now.
Okay.
All right, Joan, what's
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I know you showed a couple of posts that you put up, and so how often are you putting up those posts about your company's hiring? Is it a weekly thing? Is because that's where I kind of struggle to put up posts, and same people are kind of looking at it and stuff. So I just kind of wanted to know.
So that's a really good question. Yeah, frequency of posting is huge. Now, for my own personal page, for my own personal post for direct recruiting for my business, I would say every 2 weeks. And the thing that I do as well is I will go back and delete the last one that I posted. And what that does is when they go to my page after clicking on the post, which a lot of people are going to do, they're not going to see post after post after post after post. They can scroll back, 6 months and probably not see a post because I delete each one. Now, I don't have to do that because I know that, the nice thing about Facebook and the algorithms is that you can re-trigger a post. I've done it before, like a post that I have from, 6 weeks ago, someone comments on it and all of a sudden that post is taken off again. So, you can leave them there if you want, because that can always be there for later to re-trigger some posts, but I keep it to 2 weeks. 2 weeks is kind of like I do a post every 2 weeks and I kind of change it up, do things a little bit differently. Now, as far as like direct posts for like job groups, I mean, you can do that as often as you want and, as often as you're able to. Because again, like I said, if you do it consistently enough for like 2 weeks, you're going to realize that you're going to build too much traction, and it's going to be hard to do it every day or every other day because you just got so many people in your inboxes. So once you get the momentum going, you can kind of decide what works best for you with your availability, with your schedule, and based on the activity that you're getting from those posts. So great question.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, last one. Andrew, what's up, dude?
Hey, Daniel. Just for the record, Cheyenne was an old friend of mine, so I'm real mad that you recruited her. But a question on how you convert and get your premium from sort of this recruiting machine, because I've noticed myself running the play and it turns into this interview machine, and they're just now one after another, and then converting that into KTs, obviously from the new recruit. But what is it schedule wise for you? Are you only doing KTs in the evening, just interviewing for the day? What does that look like conversion wise?
Yeah, that is an incredible question. Yeah, you gotta convert them into premium, right? That's the biggest thing. We're not just an IBA collector. We want to actually take those people and get them into the field, get them independent, all that kind of stuff. So for me right now, my entire week from about 7 to midnight and some nights is book solid with KTs. So my nights are KTs, and that's what they're reserved for. I have 2 KTs after this, right? And that's the way that I have it set up right now, because that's typically when most people are available to do kitchen table appointments. And my mornings are reserved for recruiting appointments. Now, luckily, when you start building and developing a team and you have independent agents, luckily you have a little bit of leeway with delegation, things like that. But I will say this, Andrew, it's all in the orientation. The orientation is when you take someone from being a brand new recruit to actually getting them to go out and set appointments and get you in front of their people. I today ran 2 group orientations with 3 people on each one. And we kind of staggered the post just so we didn't get overwhelmed. But 2 people posted the post today, 2 people are going to post the post tomorrow, and then 2 people are going to post the post like later in the day tomorrow. But between those 6 people posting the post, I can't even tell you how many recruits we're going to get from that, but also 2, selling them the importance on the kitchen table. So all 6 of them have already set up, mind you, they're all in market. They're all married with children themselves. So all 6 of them have set up their own personal KTs with me over the next week. And then once I go through that, that's going to drive a ton of traction for getting them in front of, their parents, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their close friends. A big part for me is I like to educate people, and I want them to be confident and competent in kind of what we're offering to people. So I like to do that first KT with them. I like to call it the confidence booster or product knowledge call, whatever you want to call it. But that's, and 9 times out of 10, I close with them on that appointment too, just because if they're in market, there's no better option than Primerica. So yeah, great question, Andrew.
Awesome, Daniel. Hey, I appreciate you so much. We all appreciate you guys. Off mute, give him a hand. Let's go. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel,
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you.
All good questions. Thank you,
Awesome.
everybody.
Very
We
helpful.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Daniel.
Appreciate it. It was my pleasure.
I won't be shocked if we won't be hearing from you again on stages throughout the whole company. So appreciate you, bud.
Awesome. Thanks,
Talk to you
Zach.
soon.
You guys have a blessed rest of your night. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Good night.
All
Good
right.
night.
So in the final 15 minutes, guys, we've got a treat, a piggyback on what Daniel just went over. We have the great John Conover, who's a master marketer himself, going over ways to market, his little 15-minute boot camp on marketing. So instead of me introducing him, we've only got 16 minutes. We thought we might have 30. So I'm going to hand it right over to you, John. Number 1 in just crushing it. Number 1 so far this month. What up, John? How we doing, bud?
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm really excited to piggyback what Daniel went over, because I think he gave you a master class on one of the 5 to stay alive. And when you think about the ways to build this business, I'm just going to preface this by saying, please do not try to implement everything from Daniel all at once. Pick 1 or 2 things that you can executing really well on 1 or 2 things right away is better than trying to execute in a mediocre way on like 15 things. So it's better to get like really zeroed in on something that you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. And the same thing with what I'm about to give you. For some of you, maybe social media is not your thing. And for me, the 5 to stay alive, building 5 wells, building 5 ways to market yourself, social media has always been one of the 5. And so if you're looking for some alternatives, or you're looking for some, other ways to stir it up, that's kind of my goal tonight, is to give you additional ammunition, some more food for thought. So let me go ahead and share the screen with you. Just full transparency, I ran some of this on Sunday night for our team, and it did take me about 40 minutes to get through. So what I decided tonight was that I'm going to skip the social media section for the most part, because I think you guys just got plenty of that. But I believe if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And at Primerica, what I believe is developing independent leaders. If I hand you the leads, I also have to hand you the quota, right? If I hand you the leads, then I own your business. And so a lot of people, they want the freedom of business ownership, but they don't want the responsibility of creating the activity. And so with freedom, freedom requires responsibility on your part. Okay. You can't have your cake and eat it too and say, I want to own my business, but can you hand me the leads? Right. It doesn't work that way. So Primerica, we'd rather teach you to be independent. And by the way, that's my answer to the people out there when I'm prospecting. They say, how do you get your leads? Is this one of those things where you have to go out and talk to people? And my response to them is, we actually teach you how to be an independent business owner through a comprehensive marketing plan. And that kind of answers the question of where do you get your leads? And then I can go into more detail when I do their interview. But my goal is to use my marketing plan to turn my spike months into normal months. How many of you would like to turn your spike months into normal months? Here's the good news about spike months. Okay, I've had some spike months since the pandemic using Zoom. We've had months made 40 grand, 50 grand, almost 60 grand. And what's cool about spike months, Zach, is if you can do it once, what could you do again? Right? If you could do it once, you could figure out, you could backtrack where did all that income come from, and you can learn how to duplicate it. So I believe in stretching yourself and pushing yourself to go have yourself some spike months. Go run up the score to see what you're capable of, then backtrack it and see if you can learn how to replicate it. Right? It's like when I go to the gym, I might have some days where I'm going to push my body physically to see what it's capable of doing. And it stretches me physically, right? So our goal is to build our base to 30/30 by 1.5 million in securities monthly as a norm. That's got to be like our new normal, right? 1 by 1 a day. Okay. And then when you look at the bonus check, just at an RVP contract, I was looking at securities bonuses and insurance bonuses on those numbers. It's about 7,000 a month in bonuses, right? Just on running those numbers. How many? It's like almost 100 grand a year in bonuses. And I believe in growing people that can run these marketing plans, to run these plays like the social media one Daniel gave you. And then we want to promote 3 RVPs and get to the 5th diamond. And so recruiting and building teams is my number one. Always has been, always will be. Recruiting and building teams, it will be my number one thing. I'll spend 80-90% of my time focused on that. But then I've got my warm market. I've got social media. I've got referrals. I've got seminars and centers of influence and business owners, right? And I could spend 20% of my time on the other 4 and 80% of my time on recruiting and building. And that's just my MO. You guys don't have to copy that. That's just what I do. Okay. This is just my opinion. And so when it comes to recruiting and building, I believe in excited new recruits with credibility. That should be the majority of your appointments. See, that Daniel explained, they're going to get their own plan, right? They don't just field sell, we field train. And then we recruit a team for our teammates, right? We also have the clients of our teammates. If I'm field training, right, and I sit down with a family and we close a business, I'm going to ask that family to post on social media for my new recruit and tag them in it as a testimonial. Our job as field trainers is to expand the market of our new teammates, right? So here's the other thing though, become a field trainer. Some of you have been in the business longer than 6 months and you're not field trainers yet. That's just a lack of focus. And to me, it's a dumb business move, right? Because a field training 8 to 10 people, you can make 6 figures here on that play. And so you got to get good at recruiting and the fast start and the orientation. And we use the 3-way group text as a way to introduce trainee, prospect, trainer, right? If you go through my phone right now, I'm not joking, have about 30 3-way group texts happening right now, which are all introductions. These are all people I would not have met without recruiting, right? Spend extra time coaching your teammates. So we'll do little 10-minute Zoom check-ins. This is all part, you go, John, this sounds like a building talk. It's part of my marketing plan. I'd rather spend 10 minutes with a new teammate coaching and building them up so that they could go set 5 appointments than me having to go prospect for 5 appointments. Okay. Help them overcome their fear of making calls. Help hold them accountable. I love giving people a challenge, right? I called up Aaliyah. I don't know if she's on. I think she's on here tonight. So Aaliyah is under Luke, really sharp girl. And I said, look, I'm just going to shoot straight with you. I'm going to give you a challenge, an objective by the end of the week. Do you think you can hit it? I want you to pass your next 2 chapters on your quizzes. And I want you to set your first field training appointment in a qualified market. Can we rock and roll? She's like, yeah. Mission accomplished, right? And then every week we check in. It's like, what's my next objective, coach? Right? So then we build a team for people, right? And help people go for their promotions. When we talk about the qualified market, I believe families with kids, right, that are employed, healthy, 25 to 50 years old. My explanation for why a new recruit needs to focus in this market, it has nothing to do with the fact that Primerica helps people from all walks of life and all demographics. That's not the point. The point is, when you're starting out in this business, I want to increase your ratios, and I also want to get you as much bonus money as possible. And I want to teach you this business in a market. We have a lot of markets, like the baby boomer market, the retiree market, okay, the business owner market. We have a lot of markets we can work in. But when you're starting out, the first product that you're going to make money on is life insurance. Families with kids needs to be your target market when you're starting, even if you branch out into other markets later. Okay, so I want to show you success early. And so it's about the qualified market early. If you take me on one appointment and it's set up as field training, it's not a qualified market, I'm going to have a conversation with you afterwards. I'm not going to berate you. I'm going to explain to you why that's not in your best interest. Okay. And then look, we all have a bunch of scripts that we use for field training. I'm just going to tell you right now: favor, help, financial education, training appointment, not required to buy, Zoom 30 minutes. Can you help me? It's important. If you can somehow fit that into your script, I think you're going to do great. Follow your coach's lead on the actual script, but make sure you're asking for help. I have new recruits that come to me sometimes. They're like, well, they said they already had life insurance. And I said, why did they bring up life insurance to you? Because you brought it up. You're not supposed to do that. Okay. You don't have a license, and life insurance is not the only thing we do. Don't invent the objection for them. Okay. Don't bring up the objection for the person. Make sure your script is objection free. Okay. Remember, in your warm market, and so we go to number 2. So you're recruiting, you're building, however means necessary, you're getting recruits in the door, you're out there field training, but then you've always got this warm market. And see, my opinion is this: everybody that has heard of Primerica has an opinion of Primerica based on their last experience with Primerica. Your job is to shape their opinion of Primerica moving forward. It's your confidence, it's your influence, it's your professionalism, it's your example. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you show up on time for the appointment? Right? So I have had people that they no show for their interview, or they call 2 minutes after the interview was supposed to start and they say they can't make it. And I respond back, I hope you would never do that to a client, because it'd be really hard for you to build a business here operating that way. I know if I was a client with 100 grand in my 401k and you did that to me, I'm going to go look for another advisor. Right? So your warm market is going to be shaped by you. You get to shape that. Okay. It's always, here's the thing about your warm market. I have people that come to me and they're like, well, I ran out of people to talk to. And I go, that's funny. I've been here 11 years and I still have not run out of people to talk to. Okay. So your warm market is always growing. It's always changing. My suggestion would be, if you feel that way, just because you feel like you've run out of people to talk to doesn't mean you have run out of people to talk to. There's a really good chance you have something called a chicken list. And these are all the people that you're afraid to talk to. Okay. As a regional leader, I made $28,000 from one client who was on my chicken list. And I called them the week after convention 2015. And it was a $2 million investment client on my chicken list. Okay. Hobbies, memory joggers. How about this one? Where do you spend your money? Hey, ladies, where do you get your nails done? Where do you get your hair done? You're spending a gazillion dollars a year to look the way you look. If you can't get an appointment with that person, shame on you. Okay. They owe you an appointment. Okay. My barber is my client. And I sat down with one of his barbers this morning and he became a client. That's easy for me. We've got the Facebook post. We're not going to go into all this, but let's talk about social media really briefly. Okay. I love it when my clients post for me. So Daniel talked about this tonight. You can screenshot this, post it on Telegram so we can keep moving. But I love it when my clients will post on my behalf. Okay. One of our new teammates, this is an example of Glenn, who became a client of Natalie. All right. And Natalie got a post made on her behalf and she was tagged in it after Glenn became a client in field training. Natalie also saved $450 a year on her car insurance by shopping it. She made a $200 commission on top of that, and she posted that for herself. That's an example of one of our new teammates using social media. Okay, really simple stuff. You could follow other Primerica people to get ideas. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to spend a little bit of time on is business owners. You know, these are some of the business owners and centers of influence that I've had the opportunity to work with. If I get the business owner, I get the employees, right? I've recruited the employees' spouses. I've done life insurance. I've done wills, auto, and home through the employees. I've run the company retirement plans for 4 companies now. And then we get on, we do these seminars and we teach the rules of money to people. And these business owners, sometimes they have a revolving door with employees. And so when they hire somebody new, guess who they get introduced to, right? I probably pick up half a dozen clients a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but literally it's always between like November and January. I get like half a dozen clients just from the existing businesses that I have, just from new employee hires. Okay. Know your numbers. You're in business. 10-4-1. If I get put into 10 group texts, right, with prospective recruits, I expect 4 of them to get to a Zoom meeting. All right. It might be more, but I expect 4 of them to get to a Zoom meeting. I expect 1 of them to join. Those are my expectations. If you're trying to get 5 recruits from 4 text messages, good luck. Right? It's just not going to happen. You can only get so much out of the ratios. Okay. 12, 8, 5, 3, 1, 100K. I believe that if I set 12 qualified appointments and I complete 8 out of the 12 because of reschedules, and 5 do F&As and 3 become insurance clients and 1 joins the team, and then there's $100,000 of rollovers in there, I believe that's normal. I believe that's very normal. And I also believe as a district leader, if you did that once a month, you would make about $2,500 a month part-time, $30,000 a year. Okay, just completing one of those cycles a month. And then the 80-20 rule, you know, guys, I believe that as you're recruiting and building, I really do. I expect 80% of the work to come from 20% of the people. Okay, I just expect it. It helps me as I'm marketing, because you're going to overdo the work on marketing. The marketing is like the majority of your activity. I spend more time marketing than I do doing actual appointments, right? My marketing plan is so much of my time, and it leads to a lot of appointments, right? This is a pipeline system that I use. I use an Excel spreadsheet. I keep it on my laptop. I keep it current every day. I'm adding to it. And the idea is this. Rather than getting to month end and being like, oh my God, what am I going to close? I have a constant flow of closes happening all the time, because every day my goal is not to close. The closes are happening. I don't have to force the issue there. Okay, I closed 3 life insurance policies today. Why? They were in my pipeline. Okay. When you think about adding to your pipeline daily, it's how many meaningful conversations can you have on a daily basis that adds a name to the list. Somebody that has shown interest in joining the business, maybe they've not done their Zoom call yet. Maybe they've done their Zoom call and they haven't filled out their IBA yet, but you've had a meaningful conversation with them. Maybe you did an initial appointment with somebody for field training and you showed them the red house, you showed them $B Smart or whatever, and they've showed interest, but they haven't closed on life insurance yet, but you know they're going to, or you know there's a really good chance they will. Every day I should be adding. Now, by the way, I'm also taking names off this list. Every time I close somebody, their name goes off the list. Every time someone says no, their name goes off the list, right? So I'm constantly taking names off the list and adding to the list, but I track 4 things. I track recruiting prospects, premium, investments, and my trainees. These are the people that I'm training. I want the recruiting list to turn into the trainee list. I want the trainee list to turn into the premium and investment list. Okay, it's all progression for me. And the question you want to ask yourself is my daily activity filling my pipeline? Okay, this, by the way, the bigger your list gets here, the more consistent your flow will be. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is great if you want to be a personal producer. But you know what fires me up is the fact that Greg and Sarah were number 24 in the whole company last month in income below RVP. On our team, they made $12,000 as RLs. And I can tell you right now, they are religious about this. They are religious about their pipeline. They have it on a whiteboard. And so what I'm trying to do now is duplicate this. I'm trying to turn people into, from amateurs to pros. Pros make 5 figures monthly, right? So we're trying to turn people into pros. So this is the last slide, Zach, because if this doesn't turn into recruiting and building, if this doesn't turn into duplication, I think we screwed it up. So marketing, yes. Teaching marketing, double yes. How many teammates do I have showing up for training calls? These are metrics worth studying. I think we have 13 on tonight. Okay, I want to see that go to 25. How many people do we have in licensing class right now that have actually completed a chapter? I would love to get that number. How many district leader promotions do we have this month happening? How many people do we have on track for Hawaii? How many of you have reset for Hawaii, right? How many full-timers do we have making a living here? And how many $1,000 a month earners do we have part-time? Zach, when I look at the marketing, this is the last thing that I think of when I think of successful marketing. How much rejection can I take and keep smiling and keep prospecting? And how many little conversations can I start that lead to bigger conversations? To me, that was a Bobby Buisson special. But to me, that made the business less intimidating. It made it very bite-sized. It made it very simple for me. And over time, we've had ebbs and flows in our business. But I can tell you right now, using this marketing plan, what Daniel showed you all tonight, and with our new momentum running this Facebook play, we couldn't be more fired up to add more people into our system and teaching them how to go from amateur to pro, to go from financially dependent on an employer to financially independent where they are self-sufficient. And I believe if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, you teach a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime. And that's our passion here, guys. If you're brand new, we want you to take ownership of your business. And I believe you've got to be the chief marketing officer in your business before you can be the CEO. Zach, I'll turn it back over to you.
Let's go. Love it, John. Perfect little bow tie.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you,
John.
Awesome job, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love it. Thanks, John.
John. Thank you. Ready.
Awesome.
Great
Thank
fire.
you. Thank you.
Back. He's
Love
back.
it. Love it. All right, we're at 9:04. Pack. How's
Thanks.
the Rally Awards looking? Let's go. What are we at?
Right, the Rally Award top 5. We got the Conover Base coming in with 13. Will Thompson, 14. Thomas Chernick, 16. Angel and Robert Gibson, 17. And the Lavin Base, 26 on tonight.
All right. Love it. Appreciate you guys. Look, again, I'm going to harp on this because guess what? We got a reset. It's August 8th. You got to the 14th to get that reset done. That's one by one. One by one gets you reset for the Hawaii trip. That means no matter where you are at in the competition, no matter if you just started, no matter if you just joined the team, if you just got licensed, doesn't matter where you are. If you get one recruit by 1,000 in premium, you are on track for Hawaii. Meaning if you go ham in the months following, the next 2 months, you're gonna be there with everybody. All right. This is the way to win the trip. Get the reset done. You got till August 14th. Right now we got Doug has a recruit. We got Favor as a recruit. Tom Riley has a recruit. Myself as a recruit in our base. So we all need 1,000 in premium to hit that reset or $100,000 more points. But I think we all need the reset. Okay. If you don't have the reset yet, or if you have a team, are you tracking who's close to the reset? Right. That's one thing. You should probably be tracking that. But if you don't have a team, you need to make sure you get the reset done. And there's no better way to get that reset done than do what you've learned tonight. Tonight was actionable items that you could go out and win with. Today, tonight, tomorrow. Don't wait. Don't feel entertained. This is not a movie. This is for your life. Okay, this was not, I mean, it was entertaining training. This is one of my favorite trainings we've had in a long time. But the reality is nothing will happen unless you put some action into it. You got to go do it. So guys, go do it. Go win. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon. Love you. Have a great night.
Thanks, awesome.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Meeting, Zach.
Thanks,
Zach.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Awesome
Awesome
Good
training.
night.
Thank you. Awesome training. Thank you so much. Good night.
Peace out, everybody.